Okay, all right. So what's your view on HR analytics in general view?
Generally, it's very simple. There's a lot being discussed and debated about HR analytics and whether one should have this scale, how important it is, and things like that. The way I see the HR world evolving over the next few years, I don't think it is going to be an optional requirement. My estimate is over the next 5 years, HR analytics is going to be mandatory requirement for HR professionals. That's how simply I put, the scope and the future of HR analytics.
But our first question, how is HR analytics shaping the future of HR?
Well, I think that's a great question, and let me put my views on this particular aspect. I think a lot is changing in the way business is being conducted, and a lot will change over the next few years. And I will talk from the context of current situation and how things are going to be over the next few years. First and foremost, the decision making is changing. The Roshni way uh, HR used to conduct businesses, over till now, it is more guided by instinct and intuition. Going forward, a lot will be driven by data and algorithms that will predominantly drive business solutions. Many organizations use a lot of HR matrices today, which influence how they recruit people, how do they retain, and how do they compensate their employees. Uh, but the way I see it, all of this is going to change. The why it's all going to change is my next point on this, which is to do with the way workplace and workforce is changing shape. Over the last 6 months itself, we have seen the high impact of flexibility to the employees. And I think this is here to stay. People will work in a more flexible and not so physical environments. Uh, and it will get force multiplied by the gig economy. And gig economy is here. We are not seeing so much of impact of it in India, but if you look around the world, it is right there, and very soon it is going to be the single biggest force globally. If you take some of the statistics from US, one of the recent Harvard Business report very clearly indicated that about 32% of US workforce is already gig. Uh, Over the next 2 years, it is estimated to go about 40 to 50%. Once it reaches that level, the entire definition of workplace as well as workforce take a different dimension. Yeah. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. Uh, one of the recent survey of millennials indicated 92% of them prefer to be gigs. And that is how human resources will be acquired and managed. Along with that, my third point is talent in the scenario where, you may practically never see your team members ever. You may never see your human resource physically ever. It may 100% be virtual for a part of your employees. In that in that situation, how do you really acquire them? How do you engage, and how do you really develop them is going to be a key task. And one of the McKinsey research suggested that they surveyed global CEOs, uh, and one of the key areas that come up as a discussion point is 72% of them feel that human capital is going to be a critical deciding factor of sustainable business growth. If that comes in, human resource will be very central of all your business strategies. And if human resource becomes central of business strategy, the entire HR, the way from the current situation of the positioning in the boardroom will dramatically change. And it has been a great topic of debate all the time that what role HR really is playing in the boardroom. But I think in the times to come, HR will hold a central position because of these factors that I mentioned. If that's going to happen, It's not that companies are not very keen in analytics, data, and decision making backed by strong analytics and data. They are, yeah. If you look at one of the Deloitte reports that found that 30% of the surveyed organization are actively already engaged in building their HR analytical capabilities because they've sensed it coming. Uh, the same report also suggests that 44% of the companies are already using a lot of HR analytics to make their business decision. The problem is most of these analytics is done in a project form. And my belief is that is going to change big time. It will convert from project to process. HR analytics is no more going to be, one solving one problem through analytics or solving one business situation through analytics. It is going to be, continuous improvement process. And for that to happen, we come to the next point. For that to happen, you need analytical skills in the field of HR, which is not available as of now. One of the PwC report, if you go through, which talked about, what does organization feel is a roadblock from developing a good HR analytics framework in their organization. Availability of trained and skilled analytics professional in the field of HR has come out as number 2 reason. And I feel, and I can see in my own organization where hundreds of HR professionals are joining in and learning HR analytics and people analytics. Uh, this is going to be the key because there's a lot of data available. It is not that the data is not available. Uh, in fact, many a times it's a problem of plenty. There is so much of data available. What's relevant and what is not, what kind of data will give us the maximum ROI needs tremendous amount of analytical skills amongst the HR professional. And the hardest part of people analytics is implementation. If you have to, because whenever you convert anything from a project phase to a process phase, which means it becomes a continuous improvement process. So it is not that you have hired few analytics consultant to solve one problem and you can get on with it. No, because it is going to be an iterative process because the speed in which the data will get produced, and once you start doing analytics, you'll automatically start generating even more data, which means when you get into the implementation of the recommended models coming out of analytics, uh, you will need seasoned professional to implement that change management who understand these models very well, but at the same time, they understand HR very well. So they have to be domain experts. They cannot come from the so-called data science or tech background. They have to be produced from the HR domain itself. So people who will move ahead, people who will get skilled faster will obviously see themselves ahead of the curve in this race. But it will need a very solid because end of the day, you are bringing about change, which is related to, your human resources. For that, your knowledge of systems and processes, tools and techniques available in the HR has to be world class. At the same time, you need to understand analytics very well. It's okay if you don't understand data science, but you will have to understand HR analytics very, very well. And I think these are some of the things that I see changing. I already see changing in various organizations. There are a lot of examples around it, but a lot will, a lot is going to change as we go along over the next few years. And that's how I see HR analytics shaping the future of human resources.
Okay, great insights, great insights. So if I can put up in one line, can I say HR analytics would be a everyday thing and not something we can talk about it? It will be a very common thing, I believe. Is it?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be the way of life.
Hmm.
It's going to be way of life. Um, I can see a lot happening already around it. The only thing that is stopping is the current set of HR professionals. I'm not saying all, but there are very few who understand analytics very well, you know, and and it's not that some organizations have done phenomenal work on it. You know, they have created an impact, and they're already into the stage where HR analytics is going to be a way of life for HR.